This is Gemara Shavuos Daf Mem Ches. We're holding on Mem Zayin Amid Beis, about 10 lines from the bottom. The first one line is B'maimad Chenveni, and as we wrap up this pretty difficult Mesechta, we like all the learning to be an incredible schus refuah shalema for Tinok ben Miri Ma'uva b'Sei Sharchali Yisrael, as well as a schos for Gans Klal Yisrael, Achinu Kol Beis Yisrael, and Esuna Batzara, Uva Shivya Mirtz Hashem. We should only hear Besurais Toivos. Says the Gemara Itmar, Shnei Kite Edem Achishem Zu Ezu, two groups of Edem who contradict each other. Amar Rav Huna teaches Rav Huna, Zuba b'vnei Yatzo Meida, Zuba b'vnei Yatzo Meida, says Rav Huna. Each one is allowed to testify about other cases. We have a clash between the two of them. Clearly, one of them is lying. However, Zok Rav Huna, regarding other Dinei Torah, they don't lose their ne'emanos. Now, this sounds, of course, like a completely random halacha, which we'll see in a few moments how this is going to relate back to our sugya. Rav Chisda Amar B'Hadisadi Shakri Lamali. Zok Rav Chisda, what? One of them is lying, and therefore they cannot testify at all. Says the Gemara, let's quote some cases. Shnei Malvin u'shnei Loivin u'shnei Ishtarais, two lenders, two borrowers, and two documents. Hainu Plagdayu, this is the case in which there's a machlekes. According to Rav Huna, both are going to be kosher. According to Rav Chisda, both are going to be pasul. Why? Because there's clearly someone lying. Malve v'loive u'shnei Ishtarais, then Yad Bal Shtar al Tachtaina, he with the star wins. Shnei Malvin v'loive echad u'shnei Ishtarais. Hainu Mas Nisan. That is the din in our Mishnah. That is where our Mishnah taught us that both the Balabayis and the Payalim are able to swear and collect from, both the Chenveni and the workers could swear and collect from the Balabayis, even though clearly they both cannot be telling the truth. So, in this case, we'll say the same thing. So says the Gemara, in that case, we don't exactly know what the halacha will be. We have to wait for Eliyahu Navi for that one. So now says the Gemara, fine. So we have a machlek, as Rav Huna says they still have their manas. Rav Chisda says they do not. So Masiv Rav Huna bar Yehuda, let's ask a kasha on Rav Chisda. As we turn over to Mem Ches Amid Aleph, Echad Oimer Gavoy Abiz Marda'ois. This is Eidos. Eidos with regarding the new moon. As we see this in Gemara in Rosh Hashanah, one says the moon's height was Beis Marda'ois, which was a measurement, a goat, ox goat high, a measurement they used Bizman Chazal. V'echad Oimer Shalish, Eidusan Kayemes. Echad Oimer Gimel, V'echad Oimer Hey, then Eidusan Betela, Umistarfin Le'eidos Acheres. My love, says the Gemara, that even though the Eidos is Betela, they can be starving Le'eidos Acheres, says the Gemara, my love, Le'eidos Mamoin. So what do we see in the Brisa? Not like Rav Chisda. We see that when their Eidos contradict each other, they cannot testify in another case. Kasha on Rav Chisda, says the Gemara. To be clear, again, Rav Chisda said they cannot give Eidos in another case. And over here, what do we see? Umitzarfin Le'eidos Acheres. Amar Rava explains, Hu ve'acher mitzarfin Le'eidos Acheres. Doesn't mean that they could give Eidos in another case. It means that he and someone else could combine for what? Shel Reish Chaydash, for that which they're testifying about right now. Why? Because if someone else would come and corroborate what that Eid is saying, then the sum total in this Din Torah, not in a different Din Torah, sum total in this Din Torah would be Davali Trei V'chad. And then it would not be a case in which we're forced to say that he's lying, because it would be 2 versus 1. And of course, the 2 wins versus the one. Amr lachem v'niten li b'din arpeiros v'chulu, says the Gemara. Tanya Amr Rav Yehuda, Ei Masai, when is the din of the Mishnah? Shubizan Shavuos Siburin U'Menachin, when the peiros is part of them lying between them, which they am iron aleim, they're both trying to claim it. Havel if shilam b'kufasei la'achayrav, then amoitzu b'chveir love araya. If one of them actually has the peiros, then we'll have the classical amoitzu b'chveir who has it is going to win, and the other will have to bring a raya to be moitzi. Amr l'shalchani telling the exact same case. Says Gemara Tzricha, why do we need to say the same case again? Explains the Gemara. If we only said the first case, I would have thought Bachkami Rabbanon. Because Peiros could small. If you give the Merkavi lo mashile, since the spoil, he's not going to postpone to transfer. So Vadi, he should have had the Peiros. Avol Mois lo Merkavi ema moitile le Rav Yehuda. Perhaps he's moided to Rav Yehuda that maybe he didn't give it to him, and he gave him the change first and only give him the dinner afterwards. And vice versa, if he hits Bahah by the money, Bakam Rav Yehuda, Avol Bahach by the Peiros and the Rabbanan, Sricha, therefore we need both cases. Continue quoting the next case, the Mishnah Shem Shamru, Habagemes Ksubasa Vechulu V'chenisam Le'yafaru. Says the Gemara Miman, what are we talking about? When do the Yisraelim have to take such a Shavuot? Ilema. Mi loive avun shak b'lo Shavuot avinu b'Shavuos. Why do they have to swear? Hachi Kamer explains where v'cheni Yisraelim min ha'Yisraelim, as we saw yesterday. Leifar al b'Shavuot. Ravu Shmuel der Mitabayu. Lo yishanu el shemeis malve b'chayi levam yisrael b'chayi malve for an eschay malve lebnei loive Shavuot and ve'ein adam meirish Shavuot lebanav, and you cannot be meirish Shavuot to your children. Again, the same exact machlokes as we saw on the previous daf. Says the Gemara, Shalchu Kameder V'Lazer Shavuot Zu Ma Tiva. This Shavuot, how significant is it? Do the Yisraelim have to just give up just because they cannot take the same Shavuot? Shalchlu Yarshin Nishvayin Shavuos Yarshin v'Naitlin. He said no. Yarshim have a Shavuot and then they could collect. Shalchlu b'mei Ravami. They asked the same Shaila and Eretz Yisrael in days of Ravami. Amar Kulei Hai Shalchu Le'Vazli. They keep on asking this kasha. When I get a teretz, I'll tell you. Stop harassing me. Elam Ravami Hayav Asali Adan. Name Bob Milsa. You're asking me? No, I'll give you something about it. Amar Bedinu Meis Karnas Chayiv Malveh Lebnei Leiva Shvua. And the Meir Shvua, the Banabunch was a Shvua. We don't give that over. Let's say there was never a court case prior, and then he was nifter. Then Yarshin Ishmael Shvas Yarshin in Nightland, and the Yarshim will have to swear, and they'll be able to collect. So 2 lines in the bottom, the wife line Masler of Nachman. Atu Beidina Kamachayvele Shvua. Does Bezdin obligate a shvuah me'idna d'shachiv leiva? Does Bezdin create a shvuah from the moment the borrower dies? Chayiv lei malva libnei leiva shvuah. So says the Gemara, what's the difference if there was a hamad of a din? Why are we saying that the critical detail is whether there was a chayiv shvuah prior? So explains the Gemara on the first white line, Ela Amar Rav Nachman Isla Dravu Shmuel Isa Ilesa Lesa. Alma says the Gemara, so what does this mean? What this means is we're not sure. Rav Nachman is not sure. Misaf Kalei, he's misopik. Why is he misopik? Rav Nachman himself asking just like Rav Shmuel. Says the Gemara, no, the Dvar of the Rameir Kamer. He was responding to Rameir, but he himself, he was not conclusive on that opinion. Masir Rav Aishia, let's ask Kashan Rav Shmuel. The 4th white line, Mesa Yarshin. Says the Gemara, Mesa. If the Yisayma dies in Shini Collector Ksuba, Yarshin Maskir Nes Ksubasa. Ad Esher v'chamishanim, her children can go and get the ksuba even 25 years later. So what do we see? We see that it's only within 25 years. The husband died first. If the husband died first, then the Yisayma had a chiyuv shvuah to the husband's Yarshim. So there's Kasha and Rav Shmuel that say that the only way you could collect is if a Shvuah, it's Kasha and Rav Shmuel. Why? Because they held that the only way to collect such a chayiv, that only a chayiv, that is collectible with a shvuah cannot be collected. So that we see clearly not in this price. Ma'iskin explains the Gemara, shenishba umesa, that indeed she swore, and then she died. Tashma another kasha, nasari shaino umesa. If someone marries a first wife and has children, she dies. Nasa Shni marries another wife, Umeisu, and then the husband dies. Shni, the second wife, Yarshan, her Yarshim Kaidmin come before Liyarshe Rishayna. So says the Gemara, another Kash and Rav Shmuel answers, again, as long as we're able to create the Ukimta, that there was a Shvuah while the first wife was alive, then there's no longer a Kasha. Tashema, 3 lines from the bottom. That the Yarshin could swear. Amarav explains Rav Shmaya, Litzadim Katani. We got to split up the Brisa. Oisa Balman of Yershel, big Grusha. Only in the case of Grusha, but not in the regular case of Saima. Another Kash Mazram Nazmar Oisha, Yavakoyach Abemi Koyachav. Says the Brisa, the child's Koyach is stronger than even the father's Koyach as we turn over to Memchesa Midbeis. Why is the child considered to have a stronger power? Explains the Gemara why. Shabed goyve ben b'shvua ben v'loy b'shvua, but v'avin goyve ela b'shvua. So hechidami, what's the case? The meis leiva b'chayim malveh, that the leiva died in the lifetime of the malveh. Vikatani, what do the Brisa say? Shaben goyve ben b'shvua ben v'loy b'shvua b'shvua shvuas yarshin shloy b'shvua kirashbag. What does it mean now without a shvua? It means like the opinion of Rav Shimon and Gamli. Else, what do we see? We see in a case in which the loiva dies, the Brisa says that when the malva dies afterwards, the Yarshim are able to collect based on Shavuos Yarshim. Not like Rav and Shmuel. Rav Yosef, Hamani Beishami Damri Shtar Oime Ligvois. Kegavu Yidami. So it's a star in this case, and therefore everything changes. So Ikla Rav Nachman the Surah. Rav Nachman went to Surah on the last narrow line, Rav Chisda Rabba Ravuna. Rav Chisda and Rabba Ravuna meet Rav Nachman. Amruleh, they say to him, Leisi Mar Nekra, Lahadi Rav Shmuel. Let Mar come and uproot the din of Rav Shmuel. Amr Lahu. So Rav Nachman responds, Ikapali Vasai Kolani Barsai. Did I trouble myself to travel all the way here? Is that why I came? Allah. Let it stand, but don't add on to it. Says the Gemara Kigoin Mai. What would be a case in which we do go with Rav and Shmuel? And what would be a case in which it would be too far that would be called to be Haisav Allah that we shouldn't? Then Yarshin Ishmael Shuas Yarshim the Naitim. That's going to be the case in which it's too far that we will not apply the din of Rav Ushmuel. Says the Gemara in the 4th white line. There was someone, a Lovev, someone who borrowed money, then he dies, but he left a guarantor. Sava Rabba Hanami. This case is what we should not add on to. Yasi, what do you mean? And Arev Gufa comes in the place of the Yisayimim. So it should be the same din. Someone who died and left over a brother. So explains the Gemara, responds Rava, no. What is the difference in a shvua that my father did not instruct me that the case was paid? The brother should take the place of the father, and there should be the same shvua. If we're paskening at the moment like neither, Hi dayon, David Krav Shmuel of it, David Krav Lazar of it. If we go either way, then a dayon could go either way. Amar Rababa says Rababa, Haishtar Diasmi, based on the aforementioned dinim, Ishtar Yisayim Loy Mikra Karina Lay, we're not going to rip it up. Legvim Migabina Bay, Agbuy Loy Migabina Bay, Delmasir Lan Krav Shmuel. But a mikra makrina lay daidina, the avi kravalazar of it. So says Gemara Mamish, we're floating in the middle. We can't rip up the shtar nor can we really collect with it. And we conclude, Ahudayana David Kravalazar have a sermon rabbanan b'masya. There was a Talmud Chacham in the town. Amarlei, I seen a garta mimarava. They said, I'll bring a letter from Eretz Yisrael. The less looks like Kravalazar. Amarlei, l'chusai. It's okay when you bring it. Also good to Rav Chama Amalei Hadayina David Kravalazar of it, as we saw. It's a mamish a split machlekes. You can do like Rav Shmuel, you can do like Kravalazar. Either way, the halacha stands. We'll stop over here. We'll pick it up from here. B'siyata Dishmai.